Hey everyone, on this video what we're going to do is go through the food ordering feature. This is obviously one of the most highly utilized features on our platform, and that's because it can really help a small business close up any gaps with operational inefficiencies. It's a good way to get more customers engaged, and all around just a great feature to utilize for any restaurant or cafe or small business that might need this. Now, there are a few things I'd like to point out right off the bat. You'll notice here that if you click on custom, this allows you to build our native food ordering feature. Alternatively, you can select any of these guys up here on the top. What this is going to do is just allow you to insert the direct URL for that particular food ordering feature if they already have something that exists online. So remember, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. If you're working with a customer and they say, hey guys, I love working with Grubhub, just drop their particular Grubhub link in this area, and then it'll effectively put that website in an iframe in your app. Now, there are a couple tidbits that I do want to point out in setting up our native version as well. First and foremost, this order button is one of the few items in our platform that's actually customizable. In other words, it's not a hard-coded option, so you can create something that should have the same kind of tone and voice as your client. In this case, I'm looking at Tacolicious, so maybe, it's not order now, but something like Ordena or something, appropriate to their tone. In setting up the locations, of course, you can have multiple locations for the small business. Maybe they're a chain and they have 3 or 4 spots. You can always add a new one here. Certainly, I would hope that it's in the same time zone as your default app, but of course, you can change this as needed. A few things to point out. Say, for instance, this place is open until 1 a.m. on Friday and Saturdays. The best way to accommodate that in this case would be to set this to close at 11:59 p.m. And then on Saturday, I'm going to say this will be open at 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. on Saturday night as well. So that's a little bit confusing for some people, but just make sure that you drop that down actually onto Saturday for those hours. Now, the email address is really important. If you are using our food ordering feature, you can either set it up to function with a printer or you can get confirmation emails as well. And it's important that you actually list your customer's email that needs to see the record of all the orders here. I'll show you in a moment how you can put in one admin email for all locations, but I like this because it's individualized to each particular location, as you might guess from being in the location section. A couple other things I want to go through here. Services, super important section. In particular, you can, of course, determine if people have the ability to dine in, take out, or do delivery. In this case, you can also decide up to 6 days in advance that people can place an order. So effectively, this is like giving you a week if you include the same day plus 6 days ahead. Delivery address validation is important for a few different reasons. If you're, say, doing, a pizza delivery, you can determine, hey, look, our service is only available 10 miles around our actual physical address. What this does, it is a straight radius. It cannot be customized to specific shapes. However, one really important thing to note here is what this does is when the customer is actually putting in their address, they will be required to find their address on a Google Maps service. So this also ensures that the restaurant is getting a complete address and there's nothing left off when that order comes through. The rest of this is pretty straightforward. Of course, you can have a delivery minimum or have an additional fee that comes with deliveries. The one thing here that I will note, the lead time, currently this is set to 30 minutes. What this means is, of course, say it's 12 p.m., I open up the app as a customer. This means the first available option would be 12:30. It's also the increments for future orders as well. So the next possible time slot I could choose would be 1 o'clock, then 1:30, then 2. So in most cases, I like to keep the lead time a little bit lower and maybe just have a disclaimer that says, hey, all orders will take, at least 40 minutes, something along those lines. Payment, of course, this is definitely an essential portion of the app. I always start by allowing pay with cash. That's because when I'm testing this to make sure that everything is set up correctly, I want to have this option enabled so that as a customer, I'm not putting my credit card through the app just yet. This implies that I would come into the restaurant and actually pay once I'm in person. It's good for testing purposes too. You can confirm that all of, the confirmation emails and so forth look 100% exactly the way you want without actually spending any money. Alternatively, if you want a payment gateway, we do integrate with these guys specifically. It's pretty straightforward. You'll note that each time you click on one of them, these keys pop up. Now, each system has its own way to determine how to communicate with your merchant account. The merchant specifically is just it's a payment processor that says, okay, I'm going to take the credit card information from the customer and securely deliver the money to the restaurant. If you have questions about this, definitely check out our support help desk here. We have a really awesome article that goes through details of which countries each one of these is available in and links out to how to set those up. Next thing I would definitely like to point out when I'm setting up the menu here, you can display this in either a grid or a list format, whatever your preference is. When adding an item to any of these, it's important that you first create a category, then select the particular category until it's blue, and then you can add the item in that section. I want to show you an example here. I'm going to click this drop-down menu, and maybe I'll look at this made-to-order guacamole here. In addition to adding maybe an image, doing the pricing and so forth, you can also change the sizes. So what some people do, maybe it's a pizzeria, my basic pizza, I might give it a 0 price point. And then here I can say, okay, the small is, $14. The medium is going to be $16.99, and then the large would be, whatever appropriate price makes sense. Another typical option here is, of course, using the options. This would mean, say, maybe your item comes with extra sides, or maybe you're a deli and you want to list out the different, options that they can include on their sandwich, maybe, no red onions or certain types of cheese, whatever it may be. In fact, you can actually say, look, I have a requirement that you select at least, 3 from our menu. You'll notice that if I add an option, of course, this will say now I have 4 available. You can charge for each one of these. Maybe in this case, it's an extra sauce option, and that's going to be an added 50 cents. And then I want people to add as many of those as I want, and you can set that up that way. Another option here, of course, is the availability. So perhaps this particular Tacolicious restaurant, this Marina location has a happy hour. Maybe this is from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. and the prices actually change a little bit on certain items. What I would do then is create a specific happy hour menu in this food ordering feature and only create those items available at that happy hour time. Emails is the next category. Super, super important here. This customer confirmation, you'll see that this is a basic text editor, so you can change what you see here. I would typically recommend adding maybe the restaurant's name at the top, maybe the contact information, so that if people have questions about their order, they can reach out directly. This is what's actually emailed to the customer after placing their order. Now, all of these email objects will correlate to their order specifically. So just be sure you're really, really careful that you copy this exactly as you see it, and then you can paste it, wherever you want here in the template. Admin receipt works much the same way, but of course there's going to be a few additional details. As I mentioned earlier too, you can have one email where all orders go. Maybe this is like the GM of the restaurant and they want to kind of track how much is coming through. So rather than just per location, you can put one email address here. That'll work just great. And then there's custom guides. These refer specifically to like special instructions. If there's something particular about that order that needs to be noted. The thing here is sometimes people get a little bit confused and they delete this altogether. Make sure you leave this content though. If you delete this altogether, In fact, the entire email might stop working. So it is really, really important that you keep those fields there. Now, something interesting, this is a little tidbit. Under custom guides, if I scroll to the very bottom, you'll see you have the ability to customize specific text. Again, this is not hard coded into our platform. It is soft coded, and you can change this. So maybe instead of take out, if that's not the particular vernacular you use, maybe you say take away. You have the option to change that here. The last thing is, of course, the extras section. Really great information here. The embed option allows you to actually take simply this ordering feature and place it into an existing website, right? So maybe in this particular case, I have a great website, but I want to further optimize my food ordering feature that I've set up. What you'll note is that this can be placed into what's called an iframe. That's HTML coding, and you can put that onto the customer's website in addition to in their app. When you publish an app, we email you automatically all of that HTML coding and how to use this. The next thing here is the thermal printer. This is so important. Definitely check out the setup guide. There's one particular printer that we recommend that you integrate with. It's called CloudPrint by Star Micronics. We even link out to where you can purchase it, how to set it up. It's a simple process. The thermal printer is great because it's small, compact, and it's pretty inexpensive to replace the ink and paper. The other thing here in the extra section would be Google Cloud Print. Now, understand this was a beta project from Google, meaning it wasn't our beta, but Google tried this out. They had some success. They did ultimately kind of abandon the project. It's not something that they've kept on for too long. So in my opinion, it's maybe not the best route to go. Of course, we still support it for those customers that utilize it, but I would suggest going with a thermal printer instead. Remember too to also check out information on Skipper. That is an alternative method for receiving orders in the restaurant. That's our mobile business managing tool. And so you could set up maybe an iPad or a tablet, and those orders can come into the restaurant, ding the tablet in real time. And then, of course, the alternative for receiving orders between the thermal printer and Skipper would be to email a printer specifically. So again, if we come back to the location section here, you'll see that there's the option where I can say, all right, this is the location that I want all of my orders to be emailed to. Many, many printers out there have e-printing capabilities, and the printer itself is given an email address. When you send a message to that email address, the printer spits it out immediately, which is pretty convenient. That's just about it. I know that's a lot of information, but food ordering system is absolutely excellent. Just remember to keep it consistent with the theme and tone of your restaurant, and that should just about do it.